Nachamu, 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 Ami. Nachamu, 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 Ami. Anochi, Anochi, Hu menachemchem. Anochi, Anochi, Hu menachemchem. Anochi, Anochi, Hu menachemchem. Dear good people of Limmud, it's my pleasure to be with you for a Shiur on spiritual eldering. If you look at the way in which our tradition deals with elders, we have a pasuk that says in the Torah, Mipnei seva takum v'hadarta penei zaken. Stand up and honor an elder. And my teaching is that one has to honor the elder within oneself. Because God willing, all of us are going to become elders. And the difference between someone who is merely old and who is an elder is just in that. Zakein, the rabbis tell us, Ze shekana yamim. He acquired days, as it says in Avraham Zakein, Baba Yamim. Abraham grew old and he came with his days, he came in his days. And the Zohar puts it so beautifully that when the time came, he brought every one of his days in his memory as he lived them in the presence of God. So, if you know this melody, sing it with me. Limnot yameinu, Limnot yameinu, Limnot yameinu ken hoda v'navi levav chochma. Limnot yameinu ken hoda v'navi levav chochma. Teach us to treasure our days. Teach us to treasure our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. Teach us to treasure our days, that we may get us a heart of wisdom. Teach us to treasure our days. Treasure our days. Teach us to treasure our days. Treasure our days. Teach us to treasure our days. Now, if you look at the way in which elders are treated in the industrial societies, you have a sense that they're not honored. And partly it's because they don't know what to do with their time and with their input that they could give once they have retired, pulled back from being, so to say, productive. But there are other kinds of productivity than the ones that is measured by the quarterly bottom line of corporations. And so when I was 60 years old, I felt depressed because everything was good for me and I didn't know what it was. And so I took a retreat, and for 40 days I was by myself up on a mountain in a hermitage, and I began to see that I had not made shifts in my life, because that's a very important thing to understand, the shifts. So when we see ourselves in the winter years, when we are children, January, the end of January, the teeth, first teeth fall out, second teeth start coming in. February, end of February, we go into puberty. March, we are 21 years old, if you figure it by those 7-year cycles. And then you become a young person, young man, young woman, and you live through the April stormy time until you come at the end of April to your Saturn return. And then by 35, you become more of a mensch until by 42, you have got your personality. Someone once said, up to the age of 35, you can blame your parents. From the age of 35, you have to take responsibility yourself. And then you come into the summertime of your life. From the years 42 to 63. Those are the times, the July, August, and September of your lifetime, when you do those things that you have to do when you grow up. What you're going to be when you grow up, that's the summertime of your life. And then come the months of October, November, and December, and that's a whole other time. And in this society, we have not given people any models of how to behave at those years when retirement has taken on and when one is on Social Security. So you see, in Aborigine settings, Native Americans honor the elders. We used to honor the elders. In fact, the founders of this country followed the Roman model in which they decided that there are some people who should be the seniors, the senators, and people who have gained experience and wisdom in the world and would be able to deal with it. When I think today of senators, they could use a lot of that special work that goes into eldering. So when I came out of the retreat, it seemed to me very clear what one has to do. First of all, we have been gifted with a remarkable gift, which is extended lifespan. Our ancestors didn't have extended lifespan the way in which we have. But if you have extended lifespan and you don't amplify your awareness, you don't have extended awareness, then you're just dying longer, not living longer. And part of the spiritual eldering work is in acquiring more awareness, more wisdom. Now, where do you go? It's possible that you do things on the outside during the winter, the spring, and the summer. But when the fall comes, you want to be more sedentary in those years. So then your productivity becomes a productivity of the inner person rather than the outer person. And this calls on contemplative skills. What are those skills? So imagine you close your eyes for a moment and you check out how much room have you got? What can you consider? First of all, can you stretch back to your first memory that you have of your life? Then, that's one dimension. Now stretch into the other dimension. How many people have you met and known in your life? And look at the entire panorama of where you have been, what you have done, and now you see how your inner space opens up. This issue of having inner space allows you to become a contemplative. Now, why do you have to be a contemplative? Because you want to give meaning to your life. And that calls on being able to ask yourself the questions, what of my life is still unsatisfied, is still unlived? And to go back into the past and to start asking some of the difficult questions. But many people shy away from going back to the past because it makes them anxious. Why should I go back to the past where I had some failures in my life, I had some guilt, and I had some things that I didn't like what I did? Okay, then you say, how about the future? Oh yeah, I don't want to think about the future. At the other end of the future stands the angel of death. He's going to get me. I don't want to think about the future. Okay, how much of a present have you got? Oh, I don't want to think about the present. The kishkis don't work well. My back hurts. My eyesight isn't so good. I have to have hearing aids, and so on and so forth. So notice how the present has shrunk. The past isn't available. The future isn't there. And that state of mind is like a psychic form of Alzheimer's disease. So how do you manage not to fall into that? To go into the past and to look, what was there in the past that makes me anxious? I know I don't want to go there, but let me go there. Let me see what happened there. And I do what's called in Hebrew a cheshbon hanefesh. I ask my soul to go with me, and I invite God to enter with me into checking out my past. One of the important and marvelous things is that I find out that in my past, the failures I had in my past are the sources of my successes. Once you realize that, that's a remarkable idea, and then you can honor your failures and give them the kavod, the honor that they need, and say, thank you, on account of you, I have become who I have become. Another thing, many people, when they look into the past, they have a lot of unforgiven personal memories there. In other words, why should I go to the past? That's when that terrible person embittered my life, and so on and so forth. You know what? We have for this a remarkable thing. You see, if you don't forgive, what happens is that you use a lot of your energy to lock them into the prison of your anger, in the prison of your unforgivingness. So, when you have that vindictiveness eating in you, it saps your energy. So we want to be able to not have that. So we have to go back and forgive. It's not easy forgiveness work. And every time I talk to people about forgiveness work, they said, would you forgive Hitler? Would you forgive an abusive parent? Would you forgive a rapist? So I say to the people, you know what? Don't hit me with the big bomb. Start forgiving the guy who took your place before you in the queue at the movie or at the checkout counter. You see, you can't learn those big things and do the big things right away. You have to get a forgiveness muscle, as it were, and you do this incrementally. In our Torah, we have a sense that there is slicha, mechila, and kapara, these three levels of forgiveness. Maybe you can sing that with me. V'yal kulam Eloha selichot selach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu. Selach lanu is the first part, excuse me. So if I say, oi, that person, all right, I don't want to be angry with him. I'll excuse him. But then there's a deeper thing. He hurt me a lot, and I'm still feeling the hurt. That's the work of mechila. When you can finally say that what this person has done to me at that time has been in the end of benefit because I learned a difficult lesson from that, then you can have mechila. And what we do at that point is we have a mental banquet, and we do what's written in the Psalm, Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies, meaning I have a banquet, and I call all those SOBs who hurt me, and I say, come on, Kindalach, sit down with me, and I thank you for this, and I thank you for that, and so on and so forth. And I can release a lot of energy in this forgiveness work. So these are the kinds of things the contemplative work calls for. There's another thing that's really important. If someone asks you the question, what was your life all about? You have to come up with something that is your philosophy of life. And I don't mean academic philosophy. What I'm talking about is really how I make sense of what my life was about. And it's very good to have good friends, also other elders, with whom you can have spiritual intimacy. That's to say, when you do this deep inner work, if you have to pretend that you're better than you are, it's a waste of time. Then you're just faking yourself out and fooling yourself. You see, all during our lifetime, we try and construct a presentation of ourself that we show to the world. But the presentation of ourself that we show to the world is often a lie. It's not who we really are. It's like the Wizard of Oz. He is behind the curtain. What he shows to the world is something altogether different. That one you cannot take to the grave with you. That one who you presented to the world is not someone who you bring into the presence of the living God when the time comes that your life is being judged. So, that one has to be dismantled, or at least, for oneself, one has to speak about that as if one were to be in a situation where one knows, despite the fact that I have to wear that business suit on my face, but on the inside, where I am with myself and where I am with some good friends, on that place, I'm an altogether different person. And this is the person who becomes an elder. The work of doing this is the work that you have to do during the October years. I'm very glad that Lynn Iser will be with you, because some of these things that I'm saying quickly need to be unpacked a little bit in greater detail. And so I would suggest that you discuss these some more. But let us say you now are a person who has done this, a life review, who has worked on the philosophy, who gets to understand that all the experience that you had in life, you just don't want to waste it. What do you do with it? How do you upload it to the consciousness? If you can't take it into the grave, your life experience is going to disappear and die. You don't want that. If you see my cat behind me, don't worry about it. She is very good. Her name is Mazal. We have another cat called Broche, Mazal and Broche. So, if you look then at the elder who has become an elder, and you ask, what does an elder do? An elder does several things. First of all, an elder is more aware and takes responsibility for the rest of his lifetime. No one is going to help you with this. Second, an elder is trying to take away and harvest the life experience, and that's being done in several ways. You can have journal keeping. You can also write an ethical will. You can mentor other people, and you can do what I'm doing right now. I'm uploading to you my life experience about spiritual eldering. You can then also do what elders do, namely to work in your community, to work in schools to elder, to write those letters that you didn't have time to write to senators and to the government and to other places. Write fan letters and thank you letters to people you read about who do something good. It keeps you from kvetching. If you open up the newspaper or you listen to something on the radio or you see a good book, and then you decide, I enjoyed giving back. Heartfelt gratitude is part of what an elder has to do. Younger people have to do it too, but an elder, it has such a geschmack, you know. So sometimes I read a book and look up the name of the person, Google them up, get in touch with them, write them a letter, and then they are so pleased to hear back from me, and that creates well-being for the whole planet. It's very important to create well-being for the whole planet. So elders in their November years are giving back to the planet. I hoped that we would even have an elder corps that would go into the troubled spots of the world and talk to the grandparents of the people who in both sides of the conflict have lost their grandchildren. And if somebody's going to say, but it's dangerous if you go there. So I want to say, so what? It's better to do this, if your life is lost in that, than to have to linger a slow death from some kind of illness. So, could you imagine what it would be if we talk to grandparents whose children have died, and then on both sides we decide that we're going to go out and we're going to do something, we are not going to let this happen? That would be a good part for elders. But in the local scene too, there is a group of elders that began to do their work 10 years ago or more in Phoenix, Arizona. And they worked in schools, and they became whistleblowers for things that needed to be alerted to people. And God bless them, they have really done their October work, November work. Now I come to the December years. The December years call for drawing back. Why am I not with you at this time and I'm sending you this video? Because I'm in my December years. It's my time that I don't want to give to anybody else, but to be able to go deep inside and prepare myself for being able to disidentify with the body of flesh and to live in the spirit, to make it possible to have the transition that comes when we say the word Echad in the Shema, that I be able to give back my body to the earth and my soul to God. And we Jews have a very detailed and beautiful belief in the afterlife. And if you don't know enough about it, read a book that one of my students has written called Jewish Teachings of the Afterlife. His name is Simcha Raphael, and you will see the richness that is there. Some people say, what do you mean about the afterlife? It's very simple. Enough people have had out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, to be able to say, I was in great pain and suddenly I was floating over my body and didn't feel the pain. I felt a certain kind of bliss. If you can see a movie called Resurrection with Ellen Burstyn, you will see a graphic situation. Hollywood has done the same thing with defending your life. That gives you an idea how that preparation is. So in these December years, what I'm doing now is I'm praying a lot for the planet. You see, our Mother the Earth is very, very sick. I'm thinking of the blood poisoning of the rivers. I'm thinking of the emphysema that Earth has because there isn't enough good air around. I'm thinking of the ozone layer that is spoiled. I'm thinking of the overpopulation that may make it so that only cockroaches will survive on this planet. So you see, the planet needs a lot of that prayer. And the more we can, in those December years, November years too, but more in December years, putting out heart feeling into the trouble spots of the world and to pray for them, it'll make a difference. And so I come to the last part of what I want to present to you. There is a good book that I've co-written with Ron Miller called From Aging to Saging. In fact, the title has recently been used by somebody else who wrote a book of saging for aging, you know. I'm happy for that. Let them have the title for the book. But the work is really very important. And one of the things that elders have to do, besides putting prayer into the world, is give blessings. Avraham Avinu blessed, Yitzchak blessed, Yaakov blessed, Moshe blessed. And I too, in going on my 84th year, I'm sending you a blessing. I love the fact that you are saying that you want to learn. I'm still learning at this point. I want to say that living in the body and on this planet, we are living in a learning machine to be able to acquire the greater and greater awareness and consciousness, to the point that we grow toward God. I like to call that we are just like sunflowers, heliotropic flowers. They turn toward the sun. We are theotropic beings. When that happens, that we turn toward God, our life is so much different. It turns out that people are afraid to turn to God, and they don't realize that everything that I do, that I know, that I am, is guarded by God to me. So why do I have to be ashamed? And so from this place I give you a bracha, a blessing, that you may live good long lives and productive lives, and that you and your children, your children's children might be serving God as good Jews, because all religions are like vital organs of the planet, and if we are making a healthy Judaism and use our sages and our ages in the best possible way, we'll be good. Think for a moment of whatever blessing you need, and I offer you that as a Kohen. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Amen.
Nachamu, Nachamu, Amen.